Good morning, everyone who's joining us. As you enter, please feel free to put in the chat where you are this cold morning, and please make sure that you select your chat message to everyone. If you want everyone to see that, it should be automatically set to host and panelists instead of everyone. We also have a Q&A feature. So you are more than welcome to use that throughout the meeting. Glad to see a lot of you are home this morning. Well, welcome everyone to our annual membership meeting of the Oklahoma Library Association. Thank you all for joining us. I realize some of you may have unstable internet connections, so be aware that this is being recorded and you are more than welcome to watch that recording at your leisure if for some reason you lose power or internet access. So again, for those of you who are just joining us, you are more than welcome to use our Q&A feature throughout the meeting if you have questions. The panelists will try to keep an eye on that so that we can answer your questions as appropriate. Of course, you are also welcome to use the chat feature. And if you want everyone to see your chat response, please make sure that you are switching to everyone instead of just host and panelists. Although if you have a message just for us, you're more than welcome to use that as well. So I am going to call our meeting to order. First up, our secretary, Jenny Bodenhalmer, is going to present the minutes from last year's annual membership meeting. So Jenny, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good morning, everyone. I am currently pasting the link to the minutes into the chat function. Please take a look at it. The things for the financial reports is also on that link. I looked over the minutes from last year and all I saw was a small misspelling of Wayne Hanway's name, so I will make sure to fix that. Does anybody else have any corrections or additions to the minutes? If you do, please type them in the chat function. We'll give you a couple minutes. It was an exciting year to be secretary and take minutes. Please feel free to look at our executive board minutes on the website if you want to get further updates on what was happening this year.
Jenny, would
Did it not show?
Would you drop the link again and just change the to everyone?
Oh, thank you.
Yes. That's okay. Thank you, Shay, for letting us know that you couldn't see it.
Appreciate that. There you go.
If you have any corrections, please type those into the chat so that everyone can see.
If we do not have any corrections, can they, oh, Sharon? Do you have a correction?
Sharon, we're going to allow you to talk. Sharon, did you need to say anything?
If you're talking about this, Sharon, no.
Okay. All right.
Well, if we do not have any corrections, do they stand approved except for my change?
Alyssa, would you pull up the poll for that, please?
Okay.
We'll give a few more seconds for the poll. Last call for votes on the poll. All right, I'm going to end the poll now. All right, the minutes as presented with the correction that Jenny mentioned are approved. So Jenny, thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Welcome.
Bear with me. I am having trouble getting back to my screen. Okay. Next up is Michael Hull. He is going to give his financial report. Michael.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. And I think it's only appropriate to start the report off just giving a good shout out to Amigos. I've talked to treasurers for many years doing this job, and I think I've got the easiest job ever because Amigos just really has things running smoothly, the way they handle things for the association. And that's good because that's making sure for no matter who the treasurer is year after year, there's a lot of consistency and things are being done at a top quality. So I very much appreciate that. I just have to mainly look at reports and every once in a while dig into a few things and answer some questions. And I'm very appreciative of that. So the documents, Charity got them uploaded yesterday, I believe. And if you've looked at the profit and loss statement, it's been a little bit of an odd couple of years because of COVID. I do think we're starting to see business getting back to normal, especially compared from where we were in 2020. But I want you to keep in mind that our fiscal year runs from July 1 to June 30. And that's important because if you remember, our conference last year was not until July. So when you're looking at our statements, it's a little bit screwy because it looks like we made this huge profit. But in reality, excuse me, for example, it shows $84,000 brought in for the conference, but only $9,000 in expenses. That's because most people prepaid before coming to conference, all their registration and everything. But then it wasn't until July when we had all the expenses. So if you're looking at the financial statements for this year, it's making up. So basically, when we're looking historically, if you're ever looking at it in the future, you're going to want to look at fiscal years 21, 22 together, just to kind of get a more comprehensive picture. But the really exciting thing I want to share with you today is in the finance committee, we've talked about having some graphics just to kind of show the membership kind of what makes up our income, what makes up the bulk of our expenses. So I'm going to share a graphic and then I'll put it in the chat box if you want to get a copy of it. So bear with me just a moment. Okay, this first page here, hopefully it's showing up clearly, is the operating income. And because of all the COVID screwiness, what I chose to look at was, we're not in normal times. Let's look at what it was the 4 years prior to all the COVID stuff hitting. So when we look at what makes up the income for the association, we're looking at a little over 60% that's generated by the conference. Our membership dues are a little less than a third. And the other two biggest ones, if you even want to call them that, is about 5.8% for donations. A lot of that's going toward the endowment. and then just a very, very small portion going to the OLA store. And then on the converse side, on the expenses, annual conference, it takes over 80% of our budget to make sure that we're putting on the conference at the quality that people have become accustomed to. And really all of our other expenses are pretty minute when you compare it. Our computer services, that's everything from our web services to our QuickBooks, accounting fees, they're pretty close to that 8% each there. And then every other expense we have is less than 2.5%. So I'm going to put this in the chat box, and this is just informational, and we'll update this next year, try to have kind of that combination 21-22 report. But I'll be glad to try answering any questions anyone may have.
Michael, there is one question. It's where do workshops fit in this graphic?
Okay, workshops would, well, on the income side, those should fall in, I believe, under the OLA store. And on the expense side, their expenses can be included in this 2.4%.
Does anyone else have questions for Michael?
I'll pop this in the share as soon as I'm done in the chat as soon as I'm done sharing my screen. Oh, there, I can do it.
Okay. Oh, there is one question. What about the expense of Amigos for management?
Okay. Amigos, that is a great question. Where was it at? I believe it's included in the accounting fees. It may have been, that may have been more appropriate to have called that professional services. But it's going to be split either in or shared among the computer services and accounting fees with what they're doing.
It looks like we also had another question just asking that in the future that we split out that workshop income so that people can see what it contributes.
Yeah, if anyone on any direct ever wants to see the details, feel free to email me, because we can always go in and get breakdowns. I'd love to get lots of requests. Well, maybe not lots, but I'd love to get several requests on that so you can stay informed and kind of just see those specifics. So at any time, please reach out to me and I'll go run reports for you.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. There may be one. One more question. Can we talk more about what the bottom line is? Are we in the red or the green?
Well, we're staying above right now. I would honestly be more comfortable if we had more conference registrations coming in for this year. But we're in really good position because, obviously when we did our virtual conference in 2020, there wasn't a lot of overhead. So that helped the association. So even though we're going to have 2 conference expenses this year, we should be okay. But I think we're also seeing some different factors, like people still reluctant to get out. Maybe, some entities can't send people to 2 conferences in one fiscal year. I think we're seeing a few just little odds and ends like that affecting some things as we're getting closer to this upcoming conference, but we're in good shape. We're definitely in the black.
All right, Mike, is it okay if I share my screen again?
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So, Alyssa, would you pop up our next poll, please? Since I see no other questions, we ask that you vote to either approve the financial report as presented, or so vote yes if you approve or no if you do not, please. We'll allow a few more seconds. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. And thank you all for voting. You can see the approval rate there as presented. Mike, thank you again for sharing and for all of your work on those infographics. All right, next up, Kelly Sitzman is going to share her ALA counselor report. So Kelly.
Thank you, Charity. For those of you who have been following ALA over the last year or so, the work of reimagining the governing body of ALA continues. So that's been the bulk of our council discussions. So there is a Transforming ALA Governance Task Force, and that's short for TAG, and I'm going to say that because it's faster. But TAG is providing counselors with information this March, coming March, to help us think about where we stand regarding transforming ALA's governance. And then we will be voting on some things and helping move that work forward, leading up to our annual council meetings in June. So in January council meetings, we did determine that the council prefers a one body model compared to, I am going to share my screen super quick, if that's all right, to show you our current organizational structure of OLA. So this is what it looks like currently. I feel like it looks like a meteorology chart. Personally, it's very interpretive, but as you can see, there are a lot of moving pieces, a lot of people at the table for decision making. So that currently looks like, and then we voted to move toward a one body model. So executive board would be working with an advisory board, if you will, and this has been approved in concept. So at January council, we voted to accept in concept 6 guiding principles regarding function. And that includes referring emerging and ongoing governance issues to a body of knowledge for decision-making, like I just mentioned. And then we also voted to accept in concept 7 guiding principles related to culture. So that's things like having that body of knowledge make decisions and recommendations by consensus rather than relying on parliamentary procedure. There does seem to be a consensus among council that regardless of the function, whether that's an advisory body or if that's a policy-making body, that council will really benefit from reducing the number of counselors. There are a lot of cooks in the kitchen right now, and it really slows down business, and it's just really not effective. So that seems to be a consensus at this time, but discussion is still ongoing about the composition of council and what the final size will be and all of those details. And that's what we'll be covering with TAG in the upcoming months and leading up to annual conference in June. So at the March 10th council meeting, we will be determining whether it is the will of council to become an advisory body or remain a policy-making body. And the TAG task force recommends that council become an advisory body. We discussed this in OLA executive board this week, and we are supportive of this direction that TAG is recommending. So that is where we will be voting, or I will be voting, but I'm happy to answer any questions now or down the line. And I will continue to keep OLA up to date on decisions being made on this front. And then, of course, there's other things happening in ALA, I'm sure you've heard, but ALA does continue to address and monitor intellectual freedom challenges and really working toward EDI efforts, changing catalog names to make some of those outdated terms more inclusive. So there's a lot of really great work behind the scenes. And again, happy to answer any questions at this time or in the future.
Kelly, we had a request for you to share your screen one more time with your graphic. Do you mind doing that?
Yeah, you didn't have it memorized the first time, or I'm just keep teasing.
Thank
this is
you.
our current model. Yep. And council is currently made up of around 180 folks. So it's a lot of voices at the table. But still wanting to make sure that we have good representation and that voices are heard from a diverse group of people across our country, but just looking at streamlining this flow chart a little bit.
Thank you, Kelly. Does anyone have any questions for Kelly? All right, seeing none. Kelly, thank you for your report. We appreciate you very much. Okay, next, Wayne Hanway is going to present the Folio Report. Wayne?
Good morning, everyone. Folio, of course, is Friends of Libraries in Oklahoma. And Folio has two major priorities as its mission. One is the encouragement and support for friends groups for all kinds of libraries in Oklahoma. The second is the more general support for Oklahoma libraries of all kinds. And one of the things that we particularly do in this regard is to have grants to prospective friends groups or friends groups that are needing to get reorganized. We call them seed grants, and they are a big factor in encouraging as many libraries and friends groups as possible. The big part of Folio's actions this year have been a very exciting new program called Ready to Read that draws on the expertise of veteran children's librarian Valerie Kimball, who is presenting workshops for libraries, mostly smaller libraries, where the children's staff have had little experience or training in doing children's programming and presenting story times. And these are underway now, and they will be going on for the rest of this year plus next year. And we do want to also say a very sincere thanks to Melody Kellogg, Jackie Krupp, and the Oklahoma Department of Libraries for their support with some ARPA funds that has allowed us to supplement Valerie's expertise in training with gifts of books to augment the collections in these libraries where the training has occurred. Beyond that, back in October during Friends of Libraries Week, we held our second annual online town hall meeting for friends groups across the state. We are looking forward to the annual conference, where a highlight of our programs is going to be Oklahoma author Tracy Sorrell, and also a program about story walks and nature programs for libraries. And I'm sure that's going to be of great interest to many libraries. And apart from that, I think it's time to move on, but Folio is doing well, and I am looking forward to when my term will end the end of June, and Judy Hott from Elk City will become the new Folio president. Thank you.
Wayne, thank you very much for that report and for everything Folio does for Oklahoma libraries. We need you, and we appreciate you very much. And I appreciate your service to Folio and to OLA while I've been president. You're a wonderful human being, Wayne. And if you all have not spent time talking to Wayne, you should. So I don't see any questions for you, Wayne. So I'm going to move on. Thank you very much. And next up, Gail Ayler is going to present the Endowment Report.
Thank you, Charity. I'm excited to report that through the membership's generosity and donations each year at the endowment table, at our scholarship bash, through the baskets that people buy, all of those things together, our fund is now at $462,523.01. Those who have been on the endowment for years probably really can recognize a significant amount of money that we have in this fund. It started with nothing and we've grown it to almost $500,000. And we can't do it without the donations. I mean, we don't mind if it's a $10 donation or a $1,000 donation. Every little bit helps. This is how we give scholarships each year. This is how we maintain money for the future of the OLA, whether it's speakers or any type of training or any needs that the membership needs. That's what this fund does. This is how we fund the things that we would like to do for all of us. So we want to thank you. We look forward to conference in a couple of weeks. We hope you will join us at our scholarship bash 80s theme. And if you haven't bought a ticket, it's not too late. These things are fun. And again, the money all goes back to the endowment fund for this organization. And I'll be happy to ask any questions or answer any questions. I'll ask questions too. But it's just, we're excited to report where we are. Thank you.
Gail, thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Gail? All right. All right. Seeing none in the chat, we're going to move forward. Gail, thank you very much for that report. Okay. We thought it was appropriate this year for our membership meeting to have an advocacy report. So at this time, Amanda Kordelsky is going to share from advocacy.
Thank you, Charity. As you've noted, and I'm sure everyone has seen, libraries in general, but school libraries specifically, have been in the news quite a lot lately. And so wanted to share some of the things that advocacy has worked on, not just with censorship issues, but generally creating some alliances and relationships at the Capitol so that we have legislators on both sides of the aisle that we can reach out to be able to explain why libraries have a particular position or even what libraries do. So one thing that we have done this year is we created technically it's a 2-pager because we have lots of a lot of focus, but a 1-pager about what our library goal priorities are for the legislative session. So I have shared that in the chat. It's just a PDF and you are welcome to share it with your staff. We are having a little bit of glitches with our advocacy page right now on the website, but we do hope that this will go up and be accessible for everyone. But I am of course happy to send you a copy if you email and I will drop the advocacy email in the chat when I get to the end of the report. So I fielded lots of questions the last couple of weeks about librarians wanting to speak out against that adverse library legislation. And I want you to know that we did not start working on kind of quietly working and advocating for or against specific bills when the term started in February. The advocacy committee meets once a month. In the fall, we met once a month and then had some subcommittee work that met several times throughout there to build the legislative agenda and to also strategize with our advocacy allies, which we use. MMR is the lobby group that OLA contracts with. And since session started, we have been in daily contact, sometimes multiple times a day, with our representatives from MMR to clarify questions that legislators are asking them or to provide information so that they can go and properly advocate for libraries. So there are a couple of things that you can do as yourself and as your library system. For schools and public library, I will always remind you to, if you reach out to your legislators, to use your personal email and not your work email. But building that relationship with your legislator so that if we have an alert that they are on a specific committee with a bill that we're not really wanting to see advance out of committee, you're someone that we could reach out to that is a personal connection between that particular legislator and OLA. So currently, the majority of the legislation that we're tracking is in one of the education committees. There are a few that are in a couple of other subcommittees, but you will see on the advocacy page, which I am dropping now, I think. There we go. Our Engage page, this is a project that Aidan Street, who is the immediate past chair for advocacy, has been working with ALA to streamline our advocacy information that we have on our webpage and make it really easy and accessible to get to and track both state legislation and federal legislation. So if you click on the page, you will notice right now there is just a list of Senate bills and House bills for the state that we are tracking. So this is where the glitch is with the software that we're using from ALA. Normally, it would look like, if you scroll to the bottom, you can see the federal legislation that we are also tracking. And so it will usually provide that update. So you can click on the link, see where the bill is at, how far it's progressed, read the language of the bill, and then if it's federal legislation, it will jump you out to the ALA advocacy page where they have sample letters that you can send to your legislator. So this is really the best way to find out information about what bills OLA is tracking. But of course, if you have any questions or need talking points about any of the bills, you can always email advocacy, and I'm going to put this in the chat too, if I can. You can always email the advocacy email and ask for talking points. I will also really encourage you, if when you click on the advocacy tab on the OLA webpage, you'll see that there is a button for EDII and to report book challenges. EDII has been working very round the clock almost to provide support to those who have reached out about book challenges, and ALA has shared, which we have linked to, the state legislative toolkit, which has really great resources for you if you're wanting to reach out to your legislators. A couple of tips, even when the legislation is particularly harmful, it is always important to don't use all caps and yell at legislators. Be polite and respectful, and always try to open that dialogue. We have some legislators that aren't really interested in having a conversation with OLA, but we have found with the vast majority of them, that is not the case. They just don't know enough. And so being available to answer those questions, or if you feel like this is your legislator that you have a great relationship with is asking some questions that you don't feel comfortable answering, or you're not knowledgeable about advocacy, you can always send them our way and connect us, and advocacy team would love to sit down with that legislator and walk them through the talking points and why a particular bill is really great for libraries or not great at all for libraries. The one thing that you won't see on our advocacy page right now are the carryover bills from last year that generally don't have any language in them. We are just 3 weeks into session, and so we have a lot of bills that we're currently tracking. So anything that was a shell bill from last year that doesn't have actual language in it, just the title connects to libraries, we have those on a list that we are watching to make sure that they aren't resubmitted with language that could be harmful to libraries, or that it's great for libraries and we really want to throw our support behind a particular legislative. So this page will update as bills move through committees and language changes. As we saw at the very end of legislative session last year, particularly with an education bill, something that was generally a great thing for teachers. The language got stripped out of that bill and not great language added in. And so we are watching all of those, and again, in constant contact with our lobby groups. So while it may feel that OLA is not responding, truly we cannot engaging in a discussion on social media is generally, you're not going to change anybody's mind. So we have worked to have one solid voice. Charity has been a superb spokesperson for us and worked to have a unified voice where everything goes to Charity for her to speak out and to direct people to accurate information about particular books or legislation. So anybody has any questions, I am happy to answer them. And if you are interested in joining advocacy or just want to follow, there is a way on the advocacy page where you can sign up for alerts. So this won't send you an email every time the web page changes, but if we do need to send out a push to ask everyone to contact their legislators to talk about a specific bill, this is a mechanism to do that. So this will be our first session that we are trying that out. If you're signed up for the legislative alerts from ALA, my hope is that it works just like that, where you get an action alert with talking points to the bill and then links to sample tweets and emails and just good old-fashioned letters that you can reach out and talk to your state or federal leaders.
Amanda, I'm going to see, we may have something in the chat and I'm having trouble pulling it up, but as I'm looking at that, oh, we just got some praise. So thank you all. I will say, I always thought of the unofficial nickname of Sequoia as the hardest working committee in OLA, and I think advocacy may have passed them this year. So thank you very much, Amanda, for all the time that you are giving, and for the advocacy committee for all of their work. It has, and I will talk more about advocacy in a little while, but I just can't say enough how much I appreciate all the work of our committees, but I feel like I have called upon advocacy a lot more this year than I have any other. So thank you very much for that. Okay, next up, Kristen Burkholder is going to have our officer and election results. So Kristen, please tell me when to advance the slides for you.
Okay, thank you, Charity. Right, first I want to thank everybody who did vote in the elections, both for OLA officers and for whatever DROCs you may be a member of who were electing officers this time too. And a thank you to Charles Brooks, who I don't know if he's here or not, but he was as ever wonderful as our webmaster in getting the polls set up and the results and all of that good stuff. So if you want to go ahead and show the first slide. And I apologize in advance if I mispronounce anybody's name. I will do my best. So our president-elect for next year is Dana Belcher, and the secretary will be Bailey Hutchinson. And those were the only two OLA officers this year. We'll have more next time. For OKSL, there are 3 officer elections. Latasha McKinney will be the OKSL secretary. Molly Detman will be the OKSL chair-elect. And Tina Ham will be the AASL rep next year. For the other divisions, Jackie Kropp is our PLD chair-elect, April Miller, the UCD chair-elect, and Jennifer Halsey-Campbell will be the UCD secretary next year. Go ahead. And for roundtables, Lindsay Ogle is the CATS chair-elect. Roxanne Pico-Lenz will be the EDII chair-elect. And Dario Bellatini is the solar chair-elect. Go ahead. And last but not least, TSRT, Rebecca Silverstein, TSRT chair-elect, and Audrey Baker, the TSRT secretary. So again, thank you all. And I do want to thank everybody who ran, whether they want or not, because we do always need officers, and it's great to see people stepping up to participate in the leadership of OLA. All right, I also get to do resolutions. We had one resolution submitted this year, which is a memorial resolution honoring Lynn A. McIntosh. And Charity is going to put it up. I will read it for anyone who has trouble with the small screen and reading from the small screen. And then there will be a vote. So, whereas the Oklahoma Library Association, OLA, and the broader library community lost a valued member and leader on October 7th, 2021 with the death of Lynn A. McIntosh. And whereas Lynn A. McIntosh served as president of OLA and as endowment co-chair, was awarded the Oklahoma Library Association's Distinguished Service Award, was recognized as a library legend, and received the University of Oklahoma's Outstanding Alumni Award. And whereas Lynn A. McIntosh had a highly distinguished career as a library director, leading the Southern Oklahoma Library System for 23 years. And whereas Lynn A. McIntosh served with excellence for the Friends of the Oklahoma Center for the Book and on the Oklahoma Humanities Council. And whereas Lynn A. McIntosh was an enthusiastic supporter of Ardmore Kiwanis, Ardmore Historic Preservation Commission, and Ladies of the Leaf, serving in leadership roles in all. And whereas Lynn A. McIntosh touched the lives of those who worked for her many colleagues, friends, and family with her vision, mentorship, and motivating spirit. And whereas her true legacy lies in the profound effect she had on the countless men and women she mentored throughout her career. Therefore, be it resolved that the Oklahoma Library Association honors the memory of Lynn A. McIntosh and commends her leadership, her professional contributions, and her commitment to Oklahoma libraries and librarians and to the people of Oklahoma.
Kristen, thank you very much. At this time, Alyssa, would you share the poll for voting on this resolution? This has been a very fast response. I'll give it just a few more seconds though. All right, at this time, I'm going to end the poll. And we have a unanimous approval of this resolution. So, Kristen, thank you. And thank you everyone for voting to approve that resolution. Okay. At this time, we are going to have a vote for our bylaws amendment that we presented several weeks ago. So in October, we called for an electronic vote on a bylaws election or a bylaws vote amending the awards, honors, and citations section of the OLA bylaws simply to update those. The text of that bylaw amendment has been on our website. We failed to get the appropriate number of votes in our electronic vote. And so we announced in December that we would be moving the vote to this membership meeting. So at this time, Alyssa, would you put up our poll for the amendment vote? You will vote yes if you approve the amendment change and no if you do not. I will leave this up for a few more seconds. Bailey, do you see the vote yet? Are you able to vote? Okay. All right, just a few more seconds. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. And the bylaws amendment has passed. Thank you all for voting on that amendment. Okay, at this time, I'd like to give an update to the strategic plan. So in July of last year, our executive board approved a 3-year strategic plan that focused on the 3 areas that you see on your screen: sustainability, inclusiveness and relationships, and advocacy. You may find the entirety of that plan on our OLA website under our guiding documents section. And I believe Jenny, yes, has shared the link to that, to the strategic plan there, if you would like to look at it in more detail. So I'm very proud of the progress that our association has made toward the goals of this plan in just the past few months. In particular, I'm very pleased with what we have seen in the progress of inclusiveness and relationships. So we have made a very concerted effort to give our members monthly live and or recorded updates and assistance. And our DROC leaders have been able to meet quarterly, separate from our executive board meetings, simply to have time to discuss with each other what they are working on, their concerns. These quarterly meetings are opportunities for our leaders to talk about just plans that they are making or things that they would like to see from the executive board that we simply don't have time to discuss during those executive board meetings. We have tried to make more virtual opportunities for professional development so that we can be a more responsive association to the needs of our members, especially those who are unable to travel. And we've also begun the work through establishing a task force of evaluating our current board structure to make sure that our association is evolving as it needs to be in order to best serve its members. So I appreciate the work that task force is doing, and I look forward to hearing from them in the future. What really surprised me as president this year is the amount of time and energy that the leadership of OLA would need to devote to advocacy, as we mentioned earlier in Amanda's report. And again, I can't say enough how much I appreciate Amanda and the rest of that committee and MMR for the help that they have given us this year. We are really making a lot of good advocacy efforts behind the scenes. And I really feel confident that we are not going to feel the effect of much of this adverse legislation that we are seeing right now. We're also really building some strong relationships with OLA and other organizations that are that have similar goals to us. I've been in more contact this year with OKACRL than I have been in the past. They have reached out to us with their advocacy concerns and wanting to help, especially school libraries. So I have been working with them quite a bit the past few weeks. The Oklahoma State School Boards Association, the Cooperative Council for Oklahoma School Administration have all reached out to us and asked how they can help. and asked for information that we can give so that they are better informed about what it is that libraries do. So I'm very, very encouraged by the relationships that we are building as a response to what may seem like negative things that we're seeing in the news right now. We have been able to share with those outside of libraries all the important work that we do. And I think that that is an invaluable, it's invaluable to our advocacy efforts. We are receiving, it seems like daily now, media requests. So if nothing else, we are letting the public know that what we do is important and that we matter. And we do have a lot of supporters out there, I am happy to say. And I think it is well, I know it is for times such as this that we truly see the value of being part of our professional organization, because we are stronger when we work together. And that fact is never more evident than it has been to me this year. So thank you all for, being part of OLA and being part of our association, because we definitely need each other. Does anyone have any questions about the strategic plan before I move on? All right, since I'm seeing none in the Q&A or the chat, I'm going to move on to one announcement that I think really goes along with our strategic plan, in that we do want to make sure that OLA is inclusive to all librarians and all libraries in the state. A few weeks ago, Sarah Martinez from Tulsa reached out to our EDII chair, Molly Detman, and asked for assistance in beginning an Oklahoma chapter of Reforma. And I offered Sarah OLA's support in the efforts. So right now, Sarah is currently looking for any library worker who may be interested in joining a Reforma chapter. And she wants feedback as to what would best serve this group. If that group is going to be an Oklahoma-based chapter, or if they will join a 4-state group. I know Kansas is part of that has already started much of the work of beginning a Reforma chapter. So Sarah asked, and I agreed that I would share her email address, and you will see that on the screen. If you would like more information about her efforts, or if you would like to join her in this. So I'm going to leave that up for a moment. OLA definitely supports her efforts, and I've told her we will do whatever we need to do to help Sarah and the other interested members begin this Reforma chapter. So please reach out to her if you would like more information about Reforma. So finally, I just want to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to serve OLA president these past few months. What a past few months it has been. But I am looking forward to seeing all of you at our conference, March 9th through the 11th at the Hyatt Regency in Tulsa, where we're going to learn and we're going to celebrate just being librarians together. We have some amazing speakers who are all from Oklahoma that I am really, really excited about. And our ALA president, Patty Wong, is also joining us, and I cannot wait to spend some time with her. So I just want to thank you all for your continued commitment to our association, our profession, and I will leave this open for a few more minutes to answer any questions. But at this time, this will conclude our annual membership meeting, and I will see you all very soon in Tulsa. And thank you for your time today. All right. Well, at this time, I am going to end our meeting. So again, thank you all. Reach out to me if you have any questions, and I appreciate you all very, very much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
Charity.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.